I'm back to finish my story. I'm sorry this has been over a week, but I'm in the middle of an exam session, so it was kind of hectic. And in the last video, I kind of told you how I got to the worst point in my ID journey ever, and everything from the beginning up until that point. So this will be how I managed to realize what was wrong and get out of it. Hopefully. I'm still in recovery, but you know what I mean. Again, skip here, but if you don't want to hear numbers, but as I said at the end of last video, where I got was basically being 17, being about 55 kilograms for 169 centimeters of height, so not really underweight, just about 18 on the BMI scale. It will still be considered normal, but I was eating barely nothing, like about 500 to 800 calories a day for years now, easily like 4 years. So according to most people, I could have just stayed like that. I wasn't fading away, I wasn't even losing weight anymore. My body was really good at fighting against it. I just ate nothing and stayed like that. And you know, the temptation to just let it be like that was strong. If anything, I wanted to eat even less to manage to lose weight somehow, since it wasn't working apparently. But up until 16, as I said, I was an athlete, and among all the other symptoms I mentioned, from having hair loss and nail issues and GI issues, you really can tell when you balance your metabolism how much strength you lose and how fast. I was used to being an athlete to be able to do so much stuff with my body, and suddenly I could barely get out of bed. I had lost so much muscle tone in such a short span, and I was still exercising, but I had such a bad relationship with exercise, but because I just did it to lose weight, I just kept doing cardio for hours on end just to burn some calories, and I was actually not doing my body any favors. And this realization led to a series of attempts at recovery that I did by myself and didn't really lead to anything, but I think were really important in my journey, because from about 17 to 20, when I started college, I kind of went back and forth, starting at my like everyday eating, my basal metabolism. Again, skip here, don't want to hear numbers. That was about, I don't know, 700 on most of the times, and kind of trick myself into increasing it slowly, because I really didn't like eating more than I was, and I knew it would make me gain weight because my metabolism was absolutely horrible. But I kind of convinced myself and kept increasing it until it was at 900, 1,000 calories a day. And of course I would start gaining weight because I was over my maintenance, but I would kind of keep persevering until it became too much, which was usually about when I would see that I gained about a kilogram, which was kind of easy because I kept weighing myself every day. So you know, fluctuation happens, and on top of actually eating too much, actually too little, but over my maintenance kind of happened, and fairly quickly. I would then sometimes try to kind of contract for it and restrict again to go back to the weight I was, but sometimes I did manage to kind of just keep on eating the way I had attested at that point. And so that way I kind of keep going a little over what I was eating before, and over the course of these 2 to 3 years I kind of got to a point where around 1,000 calories was my maintenance, which really isn't great, but it was already a start. Then an amazing thing happened for me, which is starting college and university, because I went away from home for a whole year. I was actually in a nearby city still, but I had a place in a dormitory due to being in a excellence program. It was weird, we have weird programs in Italy. But anyway, I managed to kind of control what I was eating way more, because my mom, as you saw in the last video, is kind of controlling on her own and has a lot of weird icks. So she was still kind of influencing how I ate, and not in a good way. So my attempts at getting a little better got way more consistent, and I did manage to start focusing a little bit more on what I ate and if that, you know, was good for me, not in a way that I had to eat clean or anything like that. I didn't never was in the realm of orthorexia, but you know, if it actually made me any favors, because usually what our meals would consist of primarily is a whole lot of vegetables and often raw vegetables, so it would just fill you up and not give you any calories. So I started prioritizing actually getting fuel for myself and trying not to get too full, so using more nutrient rich foods, more dense foods that would allow me to meet some kind of goal, because yeah, the main thing was that I knew I couldn't eat like a normal person. I would just get full with us much less than normal average size portion, and the way I was eating before didn't really help me get the nutrients I needed. So I did manage to shift a little bit how I viewed food and what food I looked for, and yeah, that year was pretty good, but it ended pretty badly because there were problems both with the university and with my dad, who tried to contact me, and it was kind of bad for me, not from the meeting perspective, but just from a general mental health perspective, because I kind of had a mental breakdown and I had to close that chapter altogether because I couldn't deal with it. And I moved back here and I started another university, and I kind of had to get psychiatric and psychological help. So that was a whole chapter, but that led to something good as well, because having access to psychiatric and psychological help, even if it was for something completely different, they diagnosed my DID and I'm in for autistic assessment right now, but they also saw what my struggles with food were, so they were able to say themselves that I should probably see a nutritionist. And even if I didn't end up going to where they wanted me to, because the like public side of things is very slow and it was taking years, it was kind of a kind of a validation that I needed that I actually, it wasn't normal. I wasn't just, oh, you know, that's how girls are, but there was something wrong with me that I could have fixed and I could have gotten better. So I ended up going to a nutritionist privately, which I know is not like available for everyone. I'm grateful that I was able to afford it, even because I looked for it very thoroughly. I'm also don't have a high income, so there were like tribulations for that. But yeah, I'm still glad that I managed to afford it. But it was easily one of the best things I did for my recovery ever. And let's be honest, she didn't really do anything fancy or that couldn't have done myself, but she did kind of give me homework to a list of things to do, maybe add this to this meal, substitute this with this, and kind of get me validations in the things I already knew I should prioritize and what would help me get more calories in, more the nutrients I needed, because I also did some tests and figured out I was deficient in a lot of nutrients. So I also started taking a lot of supplements, and that always also helped tremendously in like the short term. But yeah, having that kind of validation that what I was doing was right helped tremendously, because even if you know that like kind of ED part of your brain kind of tells you not to do it because they somehow know better than what you researched. So yeah, if you can afford to get a professional on board with your case, it's really worth it. Even if just for a short time, I just saw her about 4 times, I think, once every 2 months last year. But I would definitely do it again. And also during the same time, I started following some YouTubers that I really found helpful and with very informative content, like Abby Sharp, which is a registered dietitian. Yeah, again, dietitian and nutritionist I kind of used interchangeably here, because nutritionist in Italian is actually what is the same thing as a registered dietitian in English-speaking countries, so it's a bit of a mess. But I'm talking getting actual doctor on board, not like someone who took a 2 months nutrition course. They could be good as well, but yeah, a doctor is probably better. So also I started following her and Linda Sun, who is a fellow ED warrior, and her videos are so good. I think she's much further along in her recovery than I am, but yeah, she has very good videos, very motivational videos, and I kind of try to hold on to all these different things and validation on things I should do from all these different sources, and that made a world of a difference. I managed to get so many more things done in that year than I ever was in the previous year, where I already knew I had to do something, but I was kind of left more to my own devices. Also, on the year way, I had started this channel, which was really helpful because at the start it was just like a vent for me to kind of show everybody how I was doing and rant about not being able to go over a certain amount of calories and just show what I tried to do when I was left to my own devices. But after kind of getting all these inputs, it became a way to held myself accountable, and I kind of crouched all throughout the latest part of my recovery. It helped me kind of celebrate my milestones. For example, when I stopped using a calorie counting app, I did a video about that, and then when I stopped calorie counting altogether, it was another big thing that I could share with you and celebrate with you all. And I think that also, if you're so inclined, if you like this kind of things, it could also be a great way to kind of hold yourself accountable and to celebrate and let others celebrate with you for your small accomplishments along the way. Of course, there are a lot of other ways to do that. You could keep diaries, you could create like keepsakes in other ways, either physical or another form of content. But I did really find it very helpful. And these were, I think, the main things that helped me in my recovery. First of all, keeping myself accountable and giving myself clear goals, and not just a general goal of being better, of recovering that didn't really translate very practically, but having something to strive for. But also managing to find a new way to enjoy working out that wasn't just doing cardio for hours to lose weight, but for example, I went back to ballet because it never really went out of my mind after I was rejected by the ballet company where I was for. So I enrolled myself in an adult class and I really fell in love with it. I have been doing it ever since. I do Pilates, I do a lot of other things. I'm pretty active again. I wouldn't say as much as I was when I was a competitive swimmer until 16, but still pretty active. I got back a lot of muscle mass, and yeah, those two things together with getting a more clear understanding of nutrients and what I should look for in food, and especially managing to find a lot more ways to incorporate protein in my diet, because as I said in the last video, it has always been quite an issue in my house because my mom is kind of crazy, and it led to me always have protein deficiencies in my childhood, which is pretty weird for a developed country, but here I am, it happens. But yeah, I think these were the three main factors that helped me tremendously, but still it wasn't really a quick thing. If you listen to up until here, you would have see that it was almost 6 years. I started when I was 17, trying to do things by myself and not knowing where to go, and now I'm 23, and I wouldn't say I'm fully recovered yet, but I'm on my way there. But 6 years, especially when these things, for me, for example, it started when I was like 12, and for a lot of other people, we start at young, if not younger. It's a good chunk of your life. It looks like a good chunk of your life, and it is. It will probably take about as much to get out as it did for you to get to that point. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. Managing to get to 23, being at a good place and with a semi-healed relationship with food is way better than getting here still in the state I was back then. So here it is, here is where I got where I am now, and I hope I can still keep using this channel to help myself and help you and share the little things I learned in my journey that I think you would like to know and could help you all as well. Bye!